Michael Carnevale is branch manager and financial advisor. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, 400 Southbridge Street in Auburn, Massachusetts, 1-800-657-9126. A member of FINRA SIPC and are not deposits, not insured by FDIC or any governmental agency, not guaranteed by Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank, and subject to risk, may lose value. Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank is not affiliated with Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated. The information contained in this report does not purport to be a complete description of the securities markets or developments referred to in the material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Any information is not a complete summary or statement of all available data necessary for making an investment decision and does not constitute a recommendation. Any opinions are those of Michael Carnevale and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Long Rail Report, Conversations with, and we are speaking as usual with Mike Carnevale, who will bring us up to speed on where we're going economically, financially. Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
August historically ranks 10th of 12th for performance annually.
Yep.
And you make the point.
Didn't disappoint.
Where you at?
We were down 4%, a little over 4%.
Is this 4% for the market?
For the month.
For the month, for the market.
Yep.
Okay.
And the other
that's the
indexes
Dow.
were down. Yeah, and the other indexes, right, were down about the same.
So a 4% decline in prices in the market.
Mm-hmm.
Bonds, the 30-year rose to 3.4% from 2.98%.
Right.
Now, that is a reaction to Mr. Powell.
It is. His speech that he gave, at the Federal Reserve Bank Kansas City Summer Symposium there in Wyoming, where he was much more aggressive in his talk than he had been.
So Mr. Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, speaks and somebody catches cold.
Yep, essentially.
And he basically says, I'm going to be a Mr. Tough guy, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because up until that point, there was a lot of talk that, and we saw this in the bond market by way of interest rates kind of sinking, that there might be another 1 or 2 rate hikes, but, sometime next year they're going to start cutting rates again. And the market liked that. Dow rallied over 34,000 in August, and then Powell came on and kind of squashed all that. And although the market was down 4.1%, it was about 1,300 points, the damage was done that day he spoke, because that day, you may recall, the market fell over 1,000 points. And that was on reaction to his talk that, we can forget about rate cuts. Rates are going to keep going up until we get inflation really down under control.
Well, Michael, we've been doing this a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say you are the most optimistic guy I've ever met, but you're usually fairly sunny disposition.
Yep.
Would you say Mr. Powell is getting to become a sort of Volcker type? Will he be as drastic as Volcker became?
I mean, you don't know. I think it was an overreaction.
You think Powell was overreacting?
I think the market and the public in general was overreacting. The Fed can bring down inflation, slow down the economy, really, a couple ways. The obvious is to raise rates. The other is to threaten to raise rates. And I'm not so sure that they're going to accomplish what they want to do without having to have this runaway rate increase cycle. And that might have been what he was trying to do. Of course, they're never going to admit it. But you can either physically raise the rates and that'll slow things down, or you can talk about it, and that can have the same effect. And we're not going to know in probably 5-6 months which it is, but I think the market kind of, like a lot of stuff in society today, overreaction. And since that big drop on his speech of 1,000 points, the market really has done nothing. It's gone up a little, down a little since that time. But, you know, everybody's so focused on today, and to react to what happened today, you know.
Well, sometimes today is fairly big.
It is.
Now,
Yeah.
December 7th, 1941.
Was big.
Let's
Yeah.
forget today. Yeah, no, it's okay, you know.
Yeah.
Well, everything is beautiful. No,
Right.
some days are big days.
Correct.
When was the last really big day, Mike Carnevale really big day?
I mean, it probably was the financial crisis in 08 and 09. Prior to that, it was 9/11. Prior to that, it was probably when the stock market really, with the banking crisis in, was that in 87? So 3 or 4 times.
But nothing has
Nah,
hit you since.
I'd say nothing since 08 or 09. There've been a lot of things that have happened, but
Well, we're talking the big.
correct.
And so you're kind of telling me this is sort of we're drifting. We might drift up, we might drift down, with a little, guidance from the Federal Reserve and other financial players.
All depends, then of course the first day the big reaction, and the days subsequent to that, then you get other people come out and saying, well, we can point out, not me because I can't, but they'll say, we can point out other times where the Feds talked this way and never followed through. So that gets you thinking, okay, he's been kind of calm all along. He hits the market when he knows everybody's going to be listening. Maybe that was all planned. And the public, as they usually do, take it all literally. So, oh my God, rates are really going to go up. We got to get out of everything. Market drops 1,000 points.
It isn't the little guy that would do that, because the little guy,
Right.
really little guy
Right.
isn't paying attention.
Right, it's the institutions.
So institutions
Yeah.
where they've got these guys on staff who they pay bundles,
Yep.
who have all kinds of degrees, why do they panic?
'Cause
When Mike Carnevale, Mr. Steady.
Because much of their pay is based on bonuses on performance.
Yeah, but they're doing something that might be stupid. I mean, they panic, or not panic, but say, oh, our little formula says sell now because Powell said something.
Not to them, though.
How do they get, boy, this is a great racket. We're in the wrong place. Mark.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, I know I am. No question about it.
They don't do this in upstate New York,
They do not, no.
And to the audience out there, this is kind of a small, little bit of humor between us and the staff and everybody here in our vast studio. All right, we are in my birth month.
September.
Yep. And
It's the worst month of the year for
thanks for
stocks.
telling me that. I am so happy to.
Just had to get that out. It is
Well, I
historic.
see it is. So I was leading you.
Yes,
giving you
yes.
that.
Yeah.
With the past 2 years down an average 4.5. So, ladies and gentlemen out there in TV land, head for the bomb shelter.
The good news is, after September, things get a lot better for the rest of the year.
You will be able to come out.
Yeah. You have that Wall Street saying, sell in May, come back Halloween Day. That's a positive sign where stocks tend to get stronger toward the end of the year. You have then what they call the Santa Claus rally. So that's another positive. So, potential September could look like very much like August was, down about 4% or so. But then it should, at least historically, things should get better.
some things can be relative. Like
Right.
you could have had a good, I don't know if it did. I'm just making things up here. In September, you could have had a bad September in 1933, and maybe October, November, December
Right.
looked relatively good, but they weren't good.
Correct. Yeah.
So you're saying a bad September isn't that bad because we're not in a horrible depression
Right.
type.
And you do tend to get, the market does tend in the fourth quarter, more often than not, gets better.
Okay, we can look forward to that.
Correct.
Now, technicals.
Yeah.
The stock, the New York Stock Exchange moving average is now 33% versus 34 a month ago. Not much happened, I guess.
No, but that's a good sign. It tells you 2/3 of the stocks are below their average price for the past year. That's a good sign. You know, you tend to want to see prices lower rather than higher if you want to see things do good, right? Because the higher they get, the higher the risk would be that you get some type of a correction. So that's a good sign.
Good sign if you're kind of speculating
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
But not a good sign if-
Short-term indicators.
Not a good sign if you suffered and you are part of the casualty
Correct.
that goes into that 33%.
Correct.
Okay. Now the volatility index,
That's picked up,
that's worse now. I mean,
and that's good.
and we like high fear.
You want high fear.
We want you people out there on TV
So afraid.
shuddering and then go out and buy stock.
That's right, because that's a good sign. Because people tend to, when do people get worried? After they've lost money. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. So kind of the oscillator, that's one of the more negative ones. That talks about short-term performance. And, at least at the end of August, it was at 81 out of 100 versus 46 a month ago. So that shows that, at least on the short-term basis, prices are, kind of high. But you got to remember, we were at 34,000 a couple of weeks ago. We're not there today.
And this is September, which is not the happy month.
Correct.
Thanks a lot. Anyway, the Fear and Greed Index.
That's an index that is put out by CNN.
Why am I not surprised?
And they take, I believe it's 7 different technical indicators and kind of mush them all together and come out with some type of a number. But it has to do with, very similar to the major 3 ones that I would look at. But it gives you a quick synopsis of, well, is there a lot of greed in the market or is there a lot of fear in the market? And again, these are all contrarian indicators, so you want to see a lot of fear. And their index was at 44 the end of August, and a month ago it was at 46. So it's not greed, which would be over 50, but not really deep down into the fear. Under 25 would be extreme fear, and then over 75 would be extreme greed. So I mean, you want to be if you want stock prices to go up, you'd like to see that number as low as possible.
Mike Carnevale, the Gordon Gekko of fear.
Well,
Whereas Gordon Gekko was the guy for greed.
Correct.
We love fear.
Right.
Okay, good. All right. Major news.
A lot of it's centered around the Fed.
Yeah.
In August, the minutes of their last meeting came out, and that was, if you recall, that was the meeting where in July they raised the rates 0.75%, and they put all these comments out. But what they do is they remove the people's names, so you don't know. If you're reading the report, you don't know who said what unless you've been following it for a while, and then you can kind of guess who said what. And did they change their opinion from the previous meeting or whatnot? But by and large, the talk was to remain aggressive on interest rates. And of course, that moved right into what Powell said in Wyoming at Fed meeting. So interest rates have been being rose around the world. UK, Norway, Israel, South Korea, New Zealand all raised interest rates Turkey cut their rates. The two countries I wouldn't pay too much attention to on interest rates is Turkey and Russia, because their central banks are used overtly for political reasons.
We would never do that here.
Not overtly,
Well, okay, let's.
but it can be used.
As Bill Clinton, depends what the word is, what the meaning of the word is.
Right.
What is the meaning? What is the Mike Carnevale meaning of overtly? Of the U.S. Fed, the Bank of England, the ECB
Right.
versus Turkey. I mean, I'm aware of Turkey.
Yeah.
We can discuss that.
Right.
But what is the Mike Carnevale definition?
I mean, Turkey is a country that the present government wants to stay in power, and the way they'll
Can
do
you
it
name me a
is
government that doesn't want to stay?
Oh yeah, but the way they're going to do it, the way they do
Well,
it
they've been
is
doing this. They've been playing this
right.
game.
Is
But
to try
Russia,
to keep interest rates really low.
Russia has been playing well. Has played a fairly astute game.
Yeah, they've raised rates a lot, and then they've now cut rates.
You know why they're cutting rates?
Well, I think. I mean,
I had heard something. They say they're cutting rates because the ruble is too high.
well, that could be a reason.
Now,
Yeah.
remember what our sovereign leader said, called the ruble. Do you remember what he called it?
I can't remember exactly.
We're going to see the ruble go to rubble.
Okay.
Now, I mean, if that's politics,
Oh yeah.
it's pretty
yeah.
deft
Yes.
compared to what's going on here, I would say.
Right. Right. But I mean, Russia also could be doing it to pacify their own population by keeping
But
interest rates low.
everybody in their public pronouncements is trying at the very least not to rile up their population.
Correct, but not to the extent that these two countries do it.
You really, I mean, I
Yeah.
can under Turkey has been playing an insane inflation game for
Right.
years.
Right.
Anything that comes out of the mouth of Erdogan,
Yep.
you have to really be able to parse. So, you
Right.
know, but I mean, Russia has been doing smart, I think. I mean, they have a hand. We all have a hand we're dealt.
Correct.
And,
Correct.
and every day we have to say, how are we going to play this hand? And as to Russia, they've been doing not bad. They've had sanctions thrown at them.
Yep.
And very stupidly, I think it's turning out. I think the EU is going to have some problems this year. And they've
Yeah.
already prepped their population.
That's true.
You might freeze this year.
Possible.
I love to hear that from a government.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
If I were in Europe. So, I mean, I think saying Russia is overtly saying things. I think they're doing a very good job.
Well, not as bad as Turkey, but they're in that same group. I put them in that group as opposed to the other group that
Why?
raised rates.
I can't get why you're saying they're in the same league as Turkey. That
Or
I don't get.
they're not as bad as Turkey, but they're closer to
What
that.
is the quality of it that makes it so bad? I mean, they're not inflating. They're going to make deals with countries to keep the thing responsibly afloat.
Right.
When we just keep threatening Europe. And Europe's central bank seems to have, I'm trying to think of a comment that doesn't sound obscene, but doesn't seem to have the head on right as to this.
Well, they've got a lot different problems, I think, than we have.
I'm just trying to get the qualitative aspect of how Turkey and Russia are in the same sentence.
Well, Russia's not as bad, but I would play
What is its bad aspect?
because it uses their central bank for purely political reasons to squash public protests on
How has that worked out? What is the connect? I don't get it.
I mean, it's worked for them
How you know?
because
How is there that A connection A plus B equals C? What is the connect? What is the
Well, it's-
progression? The progression.
well, it's worked for them.
But what is the progression that's worked? Because I would say that's smart, and gee, it's a wise policy, so far as I can see. Because okay, so we're using the central bank to make things good, so people won't protest. That is not a bad methodology, is it?
Right, but I mean, eventually, it will affect their economy.
And our central bank's games haven't affected our economy adversely at times, and may possibly adversely now.
Oh, it has, but not to the extent.
To what extent?
Not to the extent
You
that.
remember you predicted the sinking of the good ship Russia.
Yes,
Lollipop,
I still think
several months ago, and
I still think it's going to happen.
and it's going to happen.
Yeah. And if I'm around
but
here in
you-
2030, I'm going to say the same thing. I still think it's going to.
Okay.
I still
yeah.
think it's going to.
All right,
I
we
still think it's going to
surrender. We
happen.
surrender. You win.
I'm a broken clock. I am going to be right at some point.
Yes, you are. And you know the people who.
I am surprised it hasn't happened yet.
The people who. There's a lot of broken clocks in this world. I'm one who expects eventual complete disaster of the American economy, because unless young people can afford homes and get family formation, the complete horror show hasn't happened yet.
Right. Sure.
And my clock, if it doesn't break soon, I'm going to stamp on it and make it happen.
Okay.
All right, now, Major,
Well, oil has come down. It's end of August. It
and
was
when
under
it gets down,
95.
when
Now
it
it's
gets
under 85.
$3 a gallon, I might say, "Whoa, victory!" But this is to do the victory dance.
Oh no! I'm just saying from where we were to where we are today. I mean, it ended August under 95. I think today it's under 85. So I mean, it's going in the right direction.
It is going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And but it ain't at the victory point.
Oh no.
All right, so we've already discussed Fed at Casey and everything like that.
Correct.
And we discussed. Now let's get serious here.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about oil. You all just did, so we don't have to go there. But the really serious thing, the Red Sox predicting economic future.
Correct.
I'll let you take the over. And
A lot of good news is happening with every Red Sox loss. Since the Major League Baseball, in '69 went to the divisions.
I remember.
I mean,
I hated that.
years ago there were 15, 16 teams in the American League. If you were lucky, your team was still around in 4th of July. After that, it didn't matter. So I guess they decided we can make a lot more money if we keep a lot more teams viable. So we can't have 16 different divisions with a team in each division, although maybe they wanted that way. And they cut it up into 2, and then they ultimately went to 3, and we know what happened. They expanded. So since 1969, when this occurred, the Red Sox obviously are in the American League East. They've only finished last place 5 times. Now, to compare this, the stock market historically has gone up 66% of the years. When the Red Sox finished in last place in their division, the following year the stock market has gone up 4 out of the 5 times, or 80%, for an average gain of 14%. And the year that they didn't gain, the market dropped the following year 2%. So we got to hope that the Red Sox don't overtake the Orioles for
Well, that's not finishing last, though. That's
finishing last in their division.
They were, how many teams in their division?
I believe there are 6 now, 5 or 6.
So if they're almost this, they still have a shot at the playoffs. So they
No,
can't get to last, can they?
They are last in the American League East. That's only happened 5 times.
So how that playoff formula has got to be dumbest thing in the world.
I think it's all about money.
Oh, yeah.
If we can have more games, for more advertising, for more.
Well, you and I
Why
are the
not?
only people who go to work out of the goodness of our hearts.
And my heart isn't that good every day. But
But it's not as bad as the big kahunas in baseball who own the
no, but I
own the
can't hit a
teams.
white ball either. If I could, I'd be making $1 million a year
You would.
to strike out and finish in last place. But it was good. There's some good news. I mean, they're still in last. And
why isn't there a lynch mob after you? This is Red Sox country.
we're only talking about the stock market.
Why we bring Red Sox into it, and this is if God, Mom, the Red Sox, it's all one.
It is.
You hear in these. Well,
But that's a good indicator. It's as good as any other indicator, I like to say.
Mike will be leaving the studio with armed guards today. All right, now let's get something just as sublime. Inflation.
Well, last month there was sort of mixed results. The headline news was, inflation is down. And it was total inflation, but the core number, when you take out the more volatile items, food and energy, was actually up. So, some good news overall, but the Fed really watches the core stuff because they really can't control the stuff that's so volatile, which is food prices and energy prices. So they come up with two numbers, total and core, and the wrong one was down. So the jury's still out. Has inflation peaked? Probably has, but the core number has to start to come down too.
Now, inflation being down doesn't mean it was good. It means it was a smaller rate of inflation.
Correct.
So, Mr. and Mrs. America, your dollar is still becoming less,
Just
but at
a slower pace.
At a slower pace. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Leading economic indicators, down again, but down 0.4% in July, but not as bad as June or May. So maybe things are slowing down there, and before it can go up, it's got to stop going down. So
Well, that's what that is good. That is good.
You might want to write that down.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, with somebody called Bartlett's famous quotation,
Yes.
we got to get that in.
Yes, but I mean, it's as silly as that sounds, it's true. I mean, and it's going down less and less as we go further into the year. So that's a good sign. Jobless claims, it's amazing. Really have not been affected by high inflation and rising interest rates
But
yet.
I did see a comment, and I didn't write it down and didn't find out, investigate whether the people who said it were responsible. They said it's the type of the jobs that are on offer. The jobs you need, 2 of them.
Is the jobs you need to?
2 of them.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure.
Well, that's not, that doesn't say a lot for the economy.
No, but it's saying that less and less people are losing whatever job they have.
So it's less pessimistic rather than more optimistic.
Correct, right. I mean, history shows that the economy is affected when there's more than 250,000 layoffs per week. I mean, that's just historically, and we haven't been at that. We've been just under that. So that's a positive.
And the employment report, non-farm payrolls.
A lot of people going back to work, up over 500,000 in July, was less than April and May and June, but, it doesn't you know, when they say non-farm payrolls up 528,000, says nothing about the quality of the job.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it isn't that bad. But we will be back early October to discuss September, and we'll be wearing sackcloth and ashes because that's the worst month of the year. We have Mike, with Mike Carnevale, this is Richard Morchoe, and it's Conversations with, discussing the economy, and see you next month. Thank you.